All right, so here we're going to do a synthesis for aldehyde and a ketone or a ketone. So here's a ketone, of course. All right, so when you look at a synthesis like this, you're looking at number one for any added carbons, and there are none. Okay, and so all we have is a functional group next to the methyl group, right? So the methyl group is still there too. So which means we just need to add a functional group. Now, the other thing that we can see here is that the starting material has no functional group, right? So which means we need to add some functional group like an alkyl halide or an alkene or something like that to help us, okay, to do something. So when you have an alkane, really you're not left with a whole lot of choice except to do halogenation, okay? So the best thing to do is going to be halogenation for us. Okay, that's the starting point. Now let's talk about the ketone. How do you get a ketone? So usually you would get a ketone from, so let me just write here, ketone, you can get that from an alcohol. Now, how do you get an alcohol? Alcohol you can also get from then an alkene. So we know that, okay, maybe we need to get an alkene. I probably shouldn't draw two double bonds there, right? There you go. Okay, so which means we need to get an alkene. So now things are becoming a little bit clearer for us because we can see that if we add a bromine, okay, on this over here, then we can get an alkene from elimination. Right, so kind of have a little bit of an idea of where to go. So let's get started with what we're doing, and I'm going to go ahead and at least formulate what's on my mind. So here I need to add a bromine. Can I add that? Probably not. So that's not going to happen, which means that the only place I can add a bromine is going to be over here. Okay, because bromine is very selective. You also don't want to do any reaction which will give you multiple products. Okay, you only want to get something that will give you one specific product because you don't want to lose anything. Okay, so from an alkyl halide, now I can go ahead and do elimination. I'm going to write the reagents later, okay? So right now, we're just writing what kind of products we have in mind, all right? So now we get an alkene. Now, once you get an alkene, now you can go ahead and make an alcohol from there. So remember, we have to get to alcohol, and from alcohol, we can get to ketone. So here we can get an alcohol, no problem. We know how to do that. And then, of course, yes, we know how to do that as well. Okay, so that's kind of where we are going with this. I need to erase this part because I need to write my reagents now. So hopefully that's looking a little bit doable, okay, for us. So let's go ahead and write the reagents, okay, that we might have here. So for the first one, I can just use bromine with light or heat, you know, so free radical reaction, okay, is what I'm thinking over here. To do elimination over here, this is a very simple E2 elimination. I can use a small base, okay, and I should use a small base. I should not use a bulky base here because if I use a bulky base, then my product is going to be this, okay, and I don't want Hoffman product, I want Zaitse's product, so I'm going to use methoxide, and of course I'm going to use heat because that will help to promote the elimination. So once I have my double bond, now I need to go ahead and add the alcohol. Now I have two different carbons over here. So this is more substituted, this is less substituted, which means that this is going to be an anti-Markovnikov addition. So for our anti-Markovnikov addition, the only thing I can use here is hydroboration. So which is BH3, THF, and then of course we have to use peroxides. Remember, wherever you use peroxides, that gives you anti-Markovnikov. Okay, so now we have an alcohol. Now the last step is pretty easy, okay, which is now just going to be oxidation, which you have learned in alcohols. Now you might think, oh my God, we had to do so much for a ketone, you know, but what happens at this point is, of course, you know all of these reactions. So once you know all of them, I can give you whatever starting material, okay, because everything, all of these reactions you have already done, okay, and that's it. That's the synthesis that we have for going from a cycloalkane to getting a ketone on the carbon next to a substituted carbon.